Yo, yo, yo. What's the deal? It's your player partner, and I'm tuning in. I'm macking in to talk to you about a very, very serious situation that a lot of people choose not to acknowledge, discuss, talk about, address, and I feel like it's to our detriment when we avoid addressing the topic that I'm going to be addressing in tonight's live. As we all know, the African Americans here are the foundational Black Americans, melanated, carbonated beings here in the United States of America has been prosecuted, persecuted, targeted, victimized at a rate that's unequal to any other people who were subjugated, discriminated against, and oppressed in this land. See, those who oppose us, who are in powerful positions, they know what makes us tick. They know, they're aware of our generational trauma. And let me tell you what's some of the things that trauma does. JG, peace and blessings, family. Some of the things that trauma does to a person is make them engage in what they call high risk or risky behavior. So we may have a homie, right? And this homie, he just can't keep his DICK in his pants. Any female to smile at him, he ready to hump on her. He ready to get his hunching on. You feel what I'm saying? We may have a homie or a homegirl who's addicted to certain controlled substances. We may have a homie or a homegirl or somebody we know that just love to drive fast on the freeway, getting close behind cars and turning, going and dipping in between lanes. We see a lot of people in our community engaging in high risk or risky behavior. But what that is a response to trauma. Those who are affected by trauma have a tendency, right, to join gangs, have a multitude of sexual partners, to potentially do drugs, alcohol, and things of that nature because what it does and jump from relationship to relationship. I'm pretty sure we all know a homie or a homegirl. I got a homegirl from my section, and word is bond, and I'm not trying to berate or belittle her. I'm just calling a ball, a strike a strike. Every other month, every 2 weeks, this sister is in a different relationship with a different dude. So when you see these type of things, man, you have to ask yourself, is this a trauma response? It has to be a trauma response because it's not a regular type of behavior. Even women who are traumatized and get their heart broken, whatnot, they're not jumping from relationship to relationship. Sometimes they have to take time to heal. Even if they don't go a year, 2 years, 9 months, it's at least 2 to 3 months because if she's hurt behind this man and she's distraught behind this man, a part of her heart is still with this man. And we do got some, some virtuous women who, just jump from DICK to DICK, but that's a trauma response. That's a trauma response to make individuals who jump from partner to partner more susceptible to acquiring STDs and STIs. If you've been following the news, you see that HIV, AIDS, hepatitis, and all these other STDs and STIs is on a rise in the Black community. I'm gonna share my screen just so we can see some of these statistics because this is something real, man, and we got to protect ourselves, and we have to start informing one another as well as spreading the education on taking preventative measures so that you don't acquire these diseases that you can't give back. You feel what I'm saying? And I know this is a sensitive topic, and the reason why I have elected to address this tonight because I was just strolling through YouTube. I'm not going to act like other YouTubers like, yeah, somebody sent me everything that I got, and yeah, I don't really be strolling through YouTube. Like, yeah, I stroll through YouTube. You feel what I'm saying? It's just one of the things that I do, right? And I seen this beautiful female, man. If you looked at this sister, man, you wouldn't even think that this sister was HIV positive. And she's just telling her account, and we'll get into that. I'll share that with you. She's just telling her account, and then she's talking about, what she went through when she went through the acute stage of the HIV virus. The acute stage is, I guess, the beginning stages to where you having fevers, hot flashes, and you're dealing with all these different symptoms as the virus set into your body. Um, and it made me reminisce on a partner of mine. I'm not gonna name this partner name or whatnot out of respect for his family, you know what I mean? But I had a GS 300 Lexus, right? We chilling in the Lexus, we snorting cocaine, and we just so happened to talk about the subject of death, right? And he pretty much said that he wasn't afraid to die. He lost his fear of death when he had found out that he had HIV. And that was revelating. My partner just told me that he got HIV. This is my nigga. This is my partner. I can't judge him. I can't love him any less. And I don't want to make him feel alienated. You know what I mean? In this type, it was a lot for me to process, like, whoa, like, but I don't want to, have micro expressions or, respond to this in such a way to where he feel like I'm judging him or nothing. But it's like, whoa, this is a heavy revelation. Like, you feel what I'm saying? But you got to stay cool, calm, collective, and composed and allow him to express. The homie expressed that he had HIV, and he told me how he believed he had got it. He said he was balling. He was in and out of town. He went to a certain place in the Midwest. I'm not going to say it, because if I say it, then people from my community, I know who this person is. You feel what I'm saying? And they'll be like, well, he was the only one out there, doing his business and whatnot. So I won't say the city, I won't say the particular state, but he was in the Midwest. He was balling, he was messing with a whole lot of females, from this female to that female, so on and so forth, and he acquired HIV. Now let's fast forward. I think it was like February or March. We chilling in the projects. These little females from Doherty, I had never heard of Doherty. I had heard of Dirt Rock, but I didn't know that the gang Dirt Rock Crip was in Doherty. So some little females from Doherty found themselves in the projects. You know what I mean? They're entertained by the lifestyle. Things in the projects is a lot faster than Doherty. You know what I mean? The little homies out there looking like they got paper. Some of them really having paper. They feeling the lingo, and they're just entrenched. They're just, you know what I mean, charmed by the lifestyle of, cats in the projects. The homie, he counting up his paper. This is my homie that's HIV positive. He counting up his paper and all that. So him and one of the young chicks, she was probably about like 18 or 19, they start talking and all that. And it got to the point to where he was gonna leave with her. Like, no. Man, it's crazy, because these young ladies, most of the times, they don't have fathers. They don't have love. They don't have nourishment. They don't have things that are essential to their development, mental development, and growth. You feel what I'm saying? So they turn to the streets looking for what they didn't receive in a household, especially if they didn't have a father figure or a father. They go to the streets looking for that type of love, right? So I had to call a homie, cut like, man, that's some, man. I gave it to my homie raw. I didn't put him on blast. I didn't scream and shout so everybody can know his business, but I told into him. And I told her, man, get your little fast ass up out of here, man. Go home, man. Y'all don't know about these projects. And I put I associated my frustration on the projects being dangerous. You know what I mean? Because the projects is a dangerous place. And that was a dangerous situation that this little sister put herself in. She's about to go to a room. And it's no telling if the homie was going to use a condom or not. You feel what I'm saying? I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? But just the fact that you're carrying this and you're wanting to become sexually active with this young female, and this is like what, 2009? I don't even think it's medications that they can give individuals who are HIV positive that prevent the spread of it. You feel what I'm saying? I believe this is before that type of medication was even on the market. You feel what I'm saying? But I hollered at them. I hollered at them young sisters because it was a group of them. But I hollered at my homie too, and he right there off the potty, just looking like he couldn't even say nothing. But if you was willing to take this young sister to the room and potentially expose her to HIV, how many other sisters have you exposed to this? My homie passed away, man. Or my associate, my partner. You feel what I'm saying? My partner passed away, and what his family said he passed away from was cancer. If that's the story and that's the narrative that they're putting out there, I can't refute that. I won't refute that. It is what it is. But one thing that I'm seeing that it's becoming a popular thing now when African Americans in these impoverished or these gang infested communities, when they pass away from HIV, AIDS, whichever one is the one that sends you to the upper room, and I'm not making a joke out of it, whichever one is the one that sends you home, they're trying to attribute their death to cancer. Now, some of these peoples in our community is actually dying from AIDS, Ken folks. And I feel like you do a disservice to the community when you try to hide it and you try to camouflage it and says that it's something else. Because this person could have been sexually active with this person without protection. And if you say, hey, this person died from XYZ to the ABC, then that person can go get themselves checked. But when you say that it's cancer, cancer is not an STD. So a lot of people believe that, okay, this person died from cancer. I'm cool. No, you're not. You're not cool because that individual died from AIDS. But we should be regularly getting checked up every 6 months, right? But for a lot of, just speaking for the Black community right now on this, but for a lot of us, the way that we get checked is the female that we with, she go get checked and come back and she don't got it. And we be like, whoo, no, you got to go get checked too. Because it can lay dormant in individuals' bodies for a certain period of time before you get signs. And like the sister who video I may show, she say some people's is asymptomatic. They have no symptoms. So we got to be mindful of this, man. I want to talk about crack cocaine and HIV AIDS. I want to get into that. But before I get into that, I want to share some statistics with you to show you how real this is and how it's affecting us more than any other race, ethnic group, nationality, whatever you choose to call it. It's affecting us at a higher rate than others. Let's get into it. I'm about to share my screen. All right, so this is what we at. Black communities in the United States are disproportionately affected by HIV/AIDS compared to other racial and ethnic groups. In 2021, Black people aged 13 and older made up about 12% of the United States population, but accounted for 40% of the people with HIV. In 2022, the rate of new HIV diagnosis amongst non-Black people was 7.6 times higher than that of the rate of non-Hispanic white people. That's one statistic, right? And that is from the HIV.gov's website. This one right here is of the website called Office of Minority Health. Although Black African Americans represent almost 13% of the US population, they account for 42.1% of the HIV infection cases in 2019. In 2020, African Americans were 7.8 times more likely to be diagnosed with HIV infection as compared to the white population. Why is HIV prevalent in Blacks? A number of interconnected challenges contribute to the epidemic they call it an epidemic amongst us because the rate of HIV cases amongst Blacks is so astronomical that it's a secret epidemic. A number of interconnected challenges contribute to the epidemic amongst Black people, including poverty, lack of access to health care, higher rates of some sexually transmitted infections, smaller sexual networks, and lack of awareness of HIV status and stigmas. So now that I shared that with you, I want to share something else with you, right? Because all this shit is by design, it's systemic. This is systematic unaliving of our people. Why you think the HIV rates is so high in Atlanta? Because it was an enclave, as I have said before, because it was an enclave of Black success, of Black entrepreneurs, Black businesses. So they had to take that and spread it out there in the African American community. It's systemic. It's all by design. This ain't nothing that I'm making up in my head and I'm bringing to my people. Like, no, we have to spread awareness. We have to become more conscious of what's affecting our people and leading us to our untimely demise. This is important. But let me continue. When I say it's by design, I'm gonna show you why it's by design. Just bear with me. Follow me. I want to play this for you because I'm going somewhere. Just follow me. I shared this with y'all before in another video that I did. How UCLA acting under a grant from a government, acting under a government funded grant to a pharmaceutical company that no longer exists, called the Ranch Pharmaceutical Company. They gave UCLA millions upon millions of dollars to intensify the effects of cocaine, and they created crack cocaine. Now, this right here is Ron Siegel, and he was a scientist, a chemist, and a person who dealt with drugs at UCLA. Now, hear what he has to say, and then we're going to segue into the next thing.
And by the way, our lab was the one who discovered the crack epidemic. When we discovered crack, 13 lab was the one who discovered the crack epidemic.
When he say discovered, you got to read in between the lines. When he say that they discovered the crack epidemic, what he means is they created the crack epidemic.
When we discovered crack, 13 years before the word was even introduced into the lexicon.
13
we
years.
had monkeys smoking crack cocaine in the basement labs at UCLA 13 years before the word was invented, because we knew it was coming, and we wanted to make sure that we understood everything. We're working on the next ones already. Drugs that are out there now on the street that are not illegal, that people are looking at.
And again, you're at UCLA?
Yes.
Yeah. Just to let listeners know, where you're speaking from.
Crack cocaine origin is in UCLA. UCLA created crack cocaine and dropped it into the African American community as a weapon to destroy us. But did you know that the consumption of crack cocaine made you more susceptible to getting HIV? Don't take my word. Let's get into it. It goes hand in hand. A lot of scientific research goes into these weapons that they put into our community because they know that we're easily triggered. They know out of all people, we are the most depressed. We are the most traumatized. And when you have a traumatized people, those people are more inclined to engage in high risk or risky behavior. Some of us need an outlet, so we drink, we smoke, or some of us need those hormones and those chemicals released. So we mess with that woman, this woman, that woman, because it's a thrill and a chase. And then when you're dealing with these different partners and whatnot, what the brain produces is dopamine, serotonin, and what is the other one? Dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. When you're talking to a female and you getting to know her and the vibes is cool, the brain automatically say, hey, I like this. I'm enjoying this. I want to fuck her. And it's vice versa for females. When a dude is giving you good conversation and he telling you all them things that you want to hear and so on and so forth, the brain say, I like this. When we going to give him some PUSSY? Because the body is now under the influence. Just like you can drive under the influence and you're slightly impaired. When we jump into certain relationships, we be under the influence of hormones and chemical substances that's secreted in our body naturally. Oxytocin, serotonin, and the other one that I just said, oxytocin, serotonin, and what was the other one I said? Oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. Excuse me, there it is, dopamine. Those three chemicals the body produces to make us feel good. Dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Those things make us feel good and giddy. Sometimes we enter into a relationship prematurely because we're in a the horny stage. Yeah, the horny stage too, but we in the honeymoon phase of the relationship when the body is secreting all these chemicals. So when she texts you, it makes you feel a certain type of way. When you're talking to her, it makes you feel a certain type of way. When you're looking at her picture and when you're in close proximity of her, it makes you feel a certain type of way because the body is secreting these hormones. But let's get into it. Bear with me. And this clip that I'm going to show you is like the late 80s, early 90s. Here we go.
Well, some controversial recommendations today from the BC Centre for Excellence in HIV and AIDS. They've released a study linking crack cocaine use to an increased risk of getting HIV. Now, their proposals to solve the problem are causing debate. Health reporter Terry Reith has the very latest on this story. So, Terry, what exactly does this study show?
Well, Nancy, for more than a decade, these researchers have been following a group of drug users on Vancouver's downtown east side, a very large group. And the purpose of that was to look at trends in drug use and in their health. And today, a published study shows that there has been a marked increase in the use of crack cocaine in that area, while the use of things like heroin has gone down. But particularly what has been noted is that those who use crack on a daily basis are at a fourfold increase for developing HIV/AIDS. Now, the researchers aren't exactly sure. A couple of speculative points that they have put out there. One is that the people who smoke crack tend to share pipes. They tend to have burnt, cracked, sometimes skinned lips, that sort of thing.
No. Pause. We ain't gonna let Cuz do us like that. Cuz ain't gonna play with our intelligence like that. And saying that HIV, AIDS is transmitted from person to person because they're sharing crack pipes and the crack pipes is burning their lips and they share with somebody else. Like, nah, that's some BS. You're not about to pull a wool over our eyes. I just wanted to address that. Let's get back into it. But no. It ain't like this is an IV drug. This isn't something that they're sharing needles and so on and so forth. This is sharing crack pipes.
The other possibility is that people who use crack tend to behave in a very irresponsible fashion. So this might be due to going on a crack binge and engaging in unsafe sexual or other drug-taking practices. But the bottom line is this fourfold increase.
Okay, so the findings of this report, I'm sure, is setting off quite the debate, but also some controversial recommendations as well coming out of this. Just tell us more about that part of the equation.
Well,
boom. Now let's get to what really is going on and why people who ingest crack cocaine is at a higher rate of acquiring, contracting, being, infected with HIV/AIDS. So let's get into it. And once again, this is coming from none other than a scientist, a professor that works at UCLA. Let's hear his spiel on this.
I discussed this with Dr. Gail Baldwin. She was a professor at UCLA, and we thought of starting a project looking at how cocaine influences these cells and how their exposure to this drug actually brings down the resistance and makes them more susceptible. And this is very important because they are the major population of cells in our blood that can be targeted by the virus. So this is how it all started. The surprise was that the effect was so subtle compared to the changes in susceptibility to infection. Typically, we see some change in these quiescent CD4 T cells that will indicate that they're ready.
I'm gonna spare you all the scientific jargon, but this is where you can catch this interview at if you're interested in it. UCLA discovers cocaine makes cells susceptible to HIV. UCLA is the same university that created the crack epidemic. They knew that it was a correlation. They knew that crack cocaine consumption, it weakens the T cells, the body's defenses, to fight off any form, bacteria, diseases, and all that comes into our body. The T cells fights it off. But when you smoke that crack cocaine, it weakens the body's natural defense system, making you more susceptible of getting HIV/AIDS. Now let's get into the reality of this, right? And this is the reality of it. You know, just looking at this sister, a lot of guys would be like, "Ooh, man, I'll tear that thing up. I'll drop it all out up in here. I'll drop it all out up in her." You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? But not even knowing that this sister is infected with HIV. A lot of dudes, just her outer appearance and whatnot, man, they'll take this down. You seen this at the club or walking down the street, or you in the gym working out and you see her walk by. A lot of dudes will holler at her. A lot of dudes on her. A lot of dudes will go down and perform cunnilingus upon her. A lot of dudes will slide into her bareback raw because she has a nice outer appearance that may be fun to look upon. But let's get into her story, man.
Sex. That's how I became which is why I don't drink anymore. It's going to be a year in September since I had alcohol. So glory to God for that. After that, I walk away from the people. I notice someone following me, and not only is he following me, but he's recording me on his phone. So I immediately feel very defensive and I feel unsafe. Woo! Okay. I sense that someone's following me. He crosses the street to get closer to me, and he has a phone in hand and puts it right in my face. I knock the phone from his hand. It falls onto the floor. He curses me out. And close. At that point, I feel extremely violated, and I have a history of trauma with men, sexual trauma with men, childhood sexual trauma.
And that's what I was saying earlier about the trauma that a lot of our people go through: generational trauma, acute trauma, complex trauma, and acute, complex, and chronic trauma makes us engage in high risk, or what they call risky behavior. Things that a person who's not dealing with as much trauma, depression, anxiety, things that they say, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, I'm cool. But when you're dealing with trauma, your body naturally says, hey, I think we should drive fast. It'll give us a rush of serotonin or dopamine. Or hey, man, I think you should talk to that female, man. I think you should sex her down. I think you should put the Mac on her. It'll give us a flood of oxytocin. Man, talk to her. The body is always trying to find a balance, especially when you're dealing with trauma and the body is off balance due to the trauma. So that the way that the body feel good, feel comfortable, and feel safe is by the production of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. But let's get back into the sister's story.
And so these are things that I carried with me. And unfortunately, if you know, you know, being part of a Hispanic and minority family, you don't talk about your traumas. I couldn't go to therapy because we didn't go to therapy. That was specifically for other people. There was a lot of trauma that I was living with, that I was carrying inside of my body, because your body literally stores trauma. That's what I mean by a culmination of all the pain. He has this phone in my face and it triggers something in me, and I spit on him. I literally got the biggest loogie that I could find from the back of my throat, and I spit on him. And once I spit on him, he punches me in the face, knocks me out cold. I don't remember anything for a while. The first thing that I remember when I come to is I'm crying. I'm hysterical, and I hear someone's voice asking me, yo, are you okay? Are you good, Ma?
Are you okay?
My eyes like so swollen. I'm recording on my phone, right? So it's like, oh, you want to record on your phone? I'm gonna record on my phone. This person who asked me if I was okay is obviously not the same person who knocked me out. So the person who was asking me if I was okay ended up being the person who infected me. He picks me up and takes initiative on trying to get me home. He escorts me to his car. People are also in the car. During the time that he is taking everyone else home, and people in the car are like, yo, leave her on the side of the road. I was probably still being belligerent, but I'm still a human being. So at this point, he's asking me for an address.
Pause. She told us that she had a cellular device. She was supposed to stop, reassess, evaluate the situation. A whole lot of guys, one female. You were just knocked out. Pause. Let me stop. Let me call my brother. Let me call my uncle. Or let me call George down the street who has a good relationship with my family. Or let me call my mother. Let me call my sister. Let me call my cousin. Let me call somebody that I'm familiar with to come and take me about this potentially dangerous situation. Is one female with all these guys. She's inebriated at, well, I guess because she was inebriated, maybe that took away her rational decision making, or, you know, her being able to make logical decisions. But let's get back into it. But this is already starting off bad.
But I'm not giving it to him because I'm drunk. Instead of taking me to like a police station, hospital, etc., he's like, you know what? I'm gonna take it to my place. He takes me to his place. I remember walking in.
Pause. You don't even know this guy. Why are you going to his place? This is already starting off bad.
To his place, but that's the only thing I remember. The next morning, I woke up in such a daze that I wasn't even sure if I was alive. And then I realized that I couldn't open my eye, and that's when I started crying. I am facing the wall, so I don't know who's behind me. Once I start crying, he wakes up, or he's been awake, and he's like, come over here. Like, I don't remember this person at all. I don't remember what this person looked like. And I was so scared to turn around and be appalled by what I saw, right? I turn around and it's him.
No, you should have been appalled no matter what. You wake up in an unfamiliar environment, a bedroom that's not your bedroom, with a guy that you don't recognize. Whether this dude was grotesque or if he was the most desirable and most attractive guy in the world, you should have been appalled. You should have been making plans to get the fuck up out of there. But being that he was, fun to gaze upon, you were cool with it. That's a red flag. That's red flag number 3. And I'm not judging this, sister.
I'm like,
forgive me.
Could have been worse. This is the ignorance, right? This is behind HIV, because this guy was literally dying from his untreated HIV, potentially AIDS diagnosis. I thought he was cute. It's so ignorant. Please, I'm begging you, if there's anything that you can take away from this video, is that HIV does not have a look. You could be sleeping with someone who is literally counting their days. I start questioning him. Did we have intercourse? He basically lied to me and told me that we didn't have intercourse, but I'm like,
ever wondered why you should get an LLC with a third party when you can do it all by yourself? Yeah, of course. Those companies want to make a profit. And this is the beauty of Taylor Brands.
I'm naked, you're naked. I think we had intercourse. And I think at that point, he was just really scared that I was going to say that he like assaulted me. But which I do believe that he did. Please do not have intercourse with someone who is drunk, especially if you yourself are not, especially in the state that I was in, because I wasn't tipsy. I was far beyond that point. He eventually drops me off at home. We go our separate ways, but he's persistent about being in my life. He calls me, checks up on me. We embark on this relationship, right? And the only one that ends up being in a relationship is me. He is still doing whatever he pleases. He knows how to set his boundaries so well. He knows how to keep his many different lives separated, and he remembers all of his lies. So we were together for 7 or 8 months total. It's hard to describe what I felt because I'm not sure what parts of it were real and what parts of it were manipulation. I did need therapy after our relationship, not just because of the HIV, Actually, I didn't receive any therapy for the HIV, but it was mainly because of the gaslighting that I received. I wasn't really sure about what was real and what wasn't real. During that time is when I acquired HIV. I can't say that I acquired HIV the same night that I met him. I will say though, I started getting symptoms 3 weeks after the night that I met him. His viral load was very, very high. The higher your viral load, the easier it is to infect. I was sick for about another 3 weeks. During that time, he was very much like, can't give me what you have. Don't worry, I can't get sick. I just want to take care of you. It's really hard when you're with a narcissist. It's really hard to differentiate like what you should have done versus what you feel like you're able to do. You become them essentially, and you start thinking like them, start thinking for them, like, oh, what would they want me to do? I ended up getting tested 5 months after we met. The reason why I ended up going to the doctor is because even though I wasn't symptomatic anymore, like there were 2 symptoms that persisted. One of them being consistent, unending yeast infection. So I would take clindamycin like maybe once a week. I would be good for a couple of days and then the yeast infection would come back. Discovered that I had thrush, which is kind of like a consistent yeast infection. I'm not saying that everyone that suffers from thrush has HIV, but I'm saying like that was a symptom that I experienced. And then the second thing that was very odd to me was that it was so painful to have intercourse. Actually, he experienced the same thing too. During this time, he was very unwell, but I didn't know what it was. And I realized that I was in a lot of pain and that the clindamycin wasn't curing my yeast infection. I was like, okay, I don't have insurance, so I'm not going to go to the doctor, but I could go to the clinic and explain to them what's going on since it's down there. Maybe they have an answer or they can refer me to someone else that can give me an answer. Mind you, I got tested the day before I met him. The entire panel came out negative. The night before I went to the clinic, I had this like gut-wrenching feeling that I was going to get very bad news. I wasn't expecting it to be HIV. I was expecting it to be something else that could be cured with a shot. And if you haven't gotten tested this year, honey, it is June. Please go get tested. Only thing that they can give you results for the day of is an HIV test. Go back to the waiting area, and after your HIV results come back negative, you're free to go. So I'm sitting down in the waiting area, waiting for them to tell me like, okay, you're free to go. But instead, they call my number up. I find out that I am HIV positive. My world obviously shattered into a million pieces. They told
on that, man. This is some heavy shit, but this is the reality of high risk behavior, risky behavior, dealing with trauma, and trying to find satisfaction and comfort and pleasure in these high risk behaviors and whatnot, when we already know, because I clearly just showed you that there is a system designed for us to pass away faster than others who don't look like us. So let's be mindful, man, of the things that we do. And I know that we all share some form of some type of trauma that makes us engage in high risk behavior. Let's start getting some healing, man. I want to send prayers out to that sister, and I want to applaud her for, going and sharing her testimony of her having HIV and just being that transparent and, having the audacity and just the bravado, to come on there, not being afraid of being judged, ridiculed and whatnot, and just putting, her personal information out there, because there's a lot of people who's walking around with this virus, this disease, you feel what I'm saying? And they know that they have it, but yet they're spreading it, which is jacked up. So we have to protect ourselves, man. If you want to, what Lil Wayne say, the best sex is safe sex. And if you want it, you better use the latex or something like that, man. Let's protect ourselves, man, and let's get healing so that we're not engaging in this high risk behavior that can be rooted in our demise. So like I say, man, too black, too strong. It's your player partner. We all we need. We all we got, man. God bless y'all. I love y'all. And once again, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Y'all stay up and be blessed. One love. I'm gone.